channel. You can have it all. Today's topic is courage with God. And right now, with all that's going on in the world, we have so much going on. I really felt led as I prayed and I asked God, what topic do you want me to cover today in our TV show? And that was the topic, courage with God. And so I reflected on how it's affected my life over the years, courage with God. And I realized that nothing actually ever gets done without courage. In fact, that actually has to come first before trust or before faith or before even believing, because it actually takes courage to have faith and to have trust and to have the ability to believe that it's possible to get through something that we're going through in our life or something that our world is going through, our country, and with all the different current events that are going on. This is the biggest thing I think that we need to have right now in our lives. And as I prayed and asked God, what is the best message that I can bring today to the fans and to all the people that watch our show on Win Win Women TV network? That's it. And this show goes across 195 countries around the world on the Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, and at all different time zones. I know that it's important that we recognize and respect the fact that people around the world have different definitions for God. However, God is God, right? And some of us really just need to know that we're not alone and that others have to have courage too. I think that when we look at social media sometimes, if we're not careful, we could compare ourselves to others and we could see these beautiful photos and think that, oh, look at how life is so easy for them. And not realizing that most of us try to put our most happiest, most positive moments on Facebook to be a positive light in the world so that we can shine God's light in the world through our life. And that doesn't mean that all of their life is reflected in their social media. So I'm going to encourage you today to not compare yourselves to others, to not even compete with others, and just compete with yourself. And if you're looking at your life right now and you can see that you're doing better than you've done before in the past, that you're actually having more courage than in the past, and you can say, you know, two or 2 years ago or 2 months ago, if this was going on, I might have not been handling it as well as I am right now. And if you can say that to yourself, then that means your courage has gone up. And I think that once we've gone through enough of life where we get through some of the harder times, I mean, it's easy to get through the good times, but the definition of our character really comes out when we're going through something difficult. Do we turn into a woe is me? Do we turn into a person who's having a pity party every single day? Do we turn into a person who has to rain on everybody else's parade because our parade isn't fun right now? Or are we able to have courage, have strength, really work on ourselves, our inner self, and then go into our place of faith and trust and believing that God has our back? And if we're not co creating our life with divine, if we're not really having quiet prayer time with God daily and really seeking out answers and getting into a place of meditation, which is listening, then we're missing the boat, I think, because trying to be a one person show or a one family show is not probably going to get you the results that you want to, at least definitely not through the times that aren't easy. But when you can develop a relationship with God where you can be aligning yourself, aligning your soul with God, asking God to come into your heart and work with you, work on the parts of you that maybe aren't, that you aren't proud about. You know, we all have areas of our life that, or parts of our being that we would like to see at a higher evolution or a higher place. We'd like to be able to maybe not be jealous of others, or maybe be able to be happy for others, even when our life isn't in that happy chapter at the moment. And sometimes we really just need to ask God to work on our heart and bring us to that place that we can be happy for people, even when we're not in that happy chapter. Because then when you get to your happy chapters, because we always do, life is ebbing and flowing all the time. So we're always going through our ups or our downs, or sometimes we're in our neutral plateaus. And I know sometimes when we're in a plateau, we start thinking that maybe God isn't with us anymore, or we're not able to see the magic and miracles. But remember that that's sometimes a resting time to relax and enjoy, because it does take a lot of energy to be going up high and having things go amazing and great, and there's a lot of excitement around it. There's even stress around it too, because it's a change. And of course, it's easy to understand the stress when things are going lower. But when we're going through our happy chapters, we can have a lot of other people cheering us on and happy for us when we're able to cheer them on. And so really just putting out into the world that courage, that knowing that you're going to get through this time in your life. Or if it's more that you're concerned about what's going on in our country or in our world, know that God is always at work. God is always at work in our country and in our world and in our planet, in our galaxies and universes. And sometimes it has to get worse before it gets better, because sometimes the problems that were underneath brewing have to come up to the surface and be seen and known about. Oftentimes when we start seeing it in the news, it's been going on for a very, very long time, and it's been either under closed doors or just hasn't been making the news. And now when it comes up to the surface, it's almost like when we have a whitehead, because there was an infection underneath the skin, and eventually it comes up to a whitehead. And we're always happy when it pops, and then we can remove the fluid that was inside of the whitehead, clean it up, put our hydrogen peroxide on, or our favorite cleanser, and then put our favorite ointment on it or moisturizer to protect it, depending on how big it is or was. We might even have to put a band-aid on it to kind of secure the ointment for a day or two while it's healing. And I know that's probably not a good example of some of the things going on in our world. They're much, much bigger than a whitehead, of course. However, think about it as it has come to the surface and become visible so that everybody knows and everybody can make good decisions when they go out, vote, and when they vote. Voting coming up in November this year, and then another one, a big one next year, probably one of the biggest ones we've ever had in 50 years. And when we're all aware of what's going on, first of all, we're going to get out there and vote. We're not going to just say, oh, my vote doesn't count, because it does. And well before voting, in my opinion, praying is your way of voting with God. It's your way of setting your intentions. You know, sometimes we don't know the answers most of the time, but we do know that something needs to be done, and we can pray and we can ask God to move mountains in this situation, whether it's in our personal life, our family, our home, our city that we live in, the state that we live in, the country or the world. And that takes courage sometimes to keep going when fear sets in. So courage is the opposite of sitting in fear. And when we start acting bad, getting scared, deciding not to go to work today and just stay in bed and pull the covers over our head, we're coming from a place of fear. And that is not a place of God. It's not a place of having courage and trust and faith in God. It's the opposite. So fear is the opposite of faith. You can't be in faith and be in fear at the same exact time, simultaneously. As soon as you step into faith, the fear goes away, completely vanishes. And from that place of faith, we can act in a way that will bring in and manifest a way better situation for ourselves, way better health, wellness, happiness, and joy, much more abundance and prosperity for yourself and for your loved ones and for our country and for our world. So it's really just coming from a place of faith instead of fear. And I think sometimes that word is a little bit confusing to people, faith. So courage seems to be easier to understand because courage is overcoming your fear and going ahead and doing it anyway, or believing anyway, or getting up again tomorrow morning and starting over a brand new day. Courage is not letting all the things that are scary and frightening in the world take us down. Courage is knowing that we may not win at something that we're working to do. Maybe we're applying for a new college that we really, really want to be able to go to, or maybe we are applying for a new job that we really want to be able to get accepted and receive this new job, or maybe we are deciding to stop ignoring the health problem that we have. Maybe there's something that we've been ignoring. We've been too afraid to go to the doctor. Well, first of all, go to Dr. God first. Dr. God is the only doctor. I believe God works through all other doctors, right? Go to God and ask for guidance, ask for a healing, and then claim it. In fact, how I recommend praying is instead of saying, Dear God, please heal my blah, 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 whatever it is you're working on. It could be your finances. It could be your stomach area or your heart area, or it could be a loved one. It could be your mother or your father that's going through something. Maybe they're even getting ready to transition. So asking for it to be easier and smoother and pain-free, for instance. So going really right away, as soon as there's a fear in you, stepping right into, I'm going to God with this. I'm going to hand this up to God, and I'm going to ask God to take care of this because it's too overwhelming to me. I have no idea what to do. Everything I've tried isn't working. I've been working on this for years and years and years, and still I'm here in this place, God. Putting it up in God's hands and saying, Here, God, I'm handing this over to you. Thank you for taking care of this and clearing this, healing this, and showing me what my part in it is, showing me what I need to do or not do. So really just praying like it's all up to God and acting like it's all up to you. I mean, you can't just pray and then go and sit down and put your feet up and eat bonbons all day, 24/7, 365. You might do it for one day or 2 days to have a reprieve, but then you got to get back in action, right? And so really just being able to have the courage to face your fears. Who's ready to have the courage to face things in a bigger and stronger way and say, together with God, everything is possible. Together with God, everything is possible. Your courage can come out with God. Without God, it's a little bit difficult. In fact, sometimes we accidentally cut God out of our lives without even thinking about doing it, without even planning on doing it. It's not like we intentionally said, okay, I'm cutting God out of my life. I'm not going to believe in God anymore, or talk to God, or align with God, or co-create, or have a relationship, because it's really a relationship. I'm just going to end this relationship. No, I don't believe, most of us don't do that. However, I've noticed, myself included, a lot of us accidentally do it. And how do we accidentally do that? And then how do we have courage with God? Because we're really strong and mighty when we know that we're working with God and the miraculous, superhuman, supernatural powers of God. Well, because if we decide to continue to step into a place of fear or accidentally just fall into it, and then let ourselves be permeated by it and pretty soon drowning in it, that is how we disconnect from God. Because when you let yourself stay in a place of fear, when you let yourself just be in a place of pity party and woe is me and look at my life, how horrible it is, then we are disconnecting from God. That's the default setting of staying in fear. And so if you want to stay connected to God, you have to work hard to go back into faith. And how hard is that? Well, some of us would say that it was pretty difficult. Others would say, oh, geez, that's easy. I've been doing this a long time. So if you've been doing it a long time, you know the routine. You're like, okay, I know right where I need to be. I know where my mindset needs to be. Get back over in faith. If I stay in fear, I'm going to drown and get eaten alive by life. But if I go back into faith, I'm going to rise higher and go much higher and above this situation, whatever it is. You know, whenever anybody tries to knock you down, and you know, people do that. Some of them do it accidentally. They're not even self-aware. And people who are not self-aware are pretty dangerous because they do a lot of things that affect a lot of people and they're not even trying to be self-aware. So the first thing is, if they're not self-aware, then you need to be aware that they're not. Don't let the things that they're saying or doing make you feel bad, and don't let it define you. Don't let some garbage thing that they say to you affect your self-belief of what you feel about yourself. Instead, step into a place of, I define myself, God, and I define myself. You know, you can become best friends with God. You might be somebody right now in your life where you feel lonely, you feel like you don't have anybody to talk to, you feel like nobody really understands you, or you're embarrassed and humiliated by the situation that you have gotten yourself into by maybe ignoring things for a long time, not putting energy into it. Some people ignore their checkbook and they don't balance their checkbook, and pretty soon their finances is in a world of hurt. And they know that they only have themselves to blame, and they're humiliated and embarrassed. Other times it's a physical ailment they've been ignoring, or it could be their relationship. They haven't been putting any energy into their marriage. It could be their parenting, that they haven't been really putting energy into being a good parent. It could be a million things, right? So those are some of the big ones. It could be their job, that they haven't really been showing up fully and pretty soon they get fired. It could be your business. You haven't really been showing up fully and it's dwindling because you're not really pouring into it and filling it and filling it up with energy so that it can go and affect people in a positive way. And so pretty soon, when we're not putting nurturing into something or someone, it starts to fizzle away. And so we know we only have ourselves to blame. Well, you have to forgive yourself and say, today is a new day. I now recognize I'm self-aware. I'm not going to let myself do this anymore. You might have been self-aware for a while, but maybe you were in a place of quitting life, or maybe just quitting on that topic. Some people quit on a certain topic, like maybe their health, but they're still doing good for other things. They're still taking care of their family, their loved ones. Well, if you don't take care of yourself, you won't have much to offer them for very long, right? So you have to put yourself first. And a lot of us, since this is the Win-Win Women TV network, a lot of us are mothers, and sometimes we overgive and self-sacrifice. And sometimes, we do have to do that, but then we need to circle back around and come back to ourself, come back to our me, and take good care of ourselves. Maybe you have to schedule a day off where you're going to sleep all day because you just need to catch up on your sleep. Or maybe you're going to schedule even a half a day and you're going to actually go get your hair done because you feel like a ragamuffin and you really haven't had time to do anything for yourself. Or maybe you love getting manicures and pedicures and you just haven't given yourself permission to do it because you've been super careful with your finances. And maybe it's time to give yourself a little reward. Maybe just get one of those, or maybe give yourself a goal. Maybe say, okay, in the next 30 days, I'm going to do A, B, and C. Maybe it's that I'm going to clean out the clutter in my bedroom and in my kitchen, for instance. And when those two things are done in the next month, I'm going to go get myself a manicure and a pedicure, for instance, so that you can give yourself a carrot at the end of the stick. However, some of you are well overdue and you've already done so much and you haven't given yourself one thank you or one reward. Find something. It doesn't even have to cost money. It could be that you give yourself the day to go enjoy your favorite lake or ocean, walk along the beach, or sit by your favorite tree and read a book because you haven't had time to read a book. Bring a nice mug of tea. Get one of your thermos cups, fill it up with your nice hot tea or your nice cold tea, and say, okay, I'm going to go. Or maybe you haven't gone on a vacation in a very long time. Or maybe you've never gone on one that you can actually say qualifies as a vacation. So maybe you're going to book one. Maybe you're going to put it on a payment plan even. And maybe it's going to be a little bit further out. Maybe you're going to be waiting 6 months before you get to go, or a year. And maybe you're going to have to pay it off for a few years. However, I'm not saying that you can't believe that you're going to be able to achieve these goals, because sometimes our soul just isn't excited for the future because we don't have anything planned that's fun. I found that a lot of people just aren't having enough fun in their life, and it's because they're not giving themselves permission. So I want you to have some courage with God. I want you to step out into the unknown and have faith, but take calculated risks and get grounded doing it. I think a lot of times when people decide to finally have faith and they align their soul with God and they get very excited, however, they forget to be grounded. And so they go a little bit too high and make too big of risks and maybe not calculate them a little bit better. So here's how you do that. When you're making a decision, and it's a fairly big decision, maybe it's that you're going to take a new job. Maybe it's that you're going to hire a new babysitter for your child. Maybe it's that you're going to start dating a new person. Go ahead and take it up to prayer with God first, and not just for one day. Maybe do it for 3 days, because sometimes in that one day, we can get a little bit wild and manic and be like, woohoo. And so if we give ourselves a chance to have at least 3 days, 72 hours, in each day, we do a little prayer and meditation, and we bring that topic to God, that particular job that we're thinking of accepting, or that particular person we're thinking of accepting into our life to start to get to know and go on dates, and basically interview them for if they're going to be your life partner, if you're going to get married to them someday. And maybe you're going to hire a nanny or a babysitter, always take important things like these things, or start a new division of your business, take them to God. And with God, you can have the courage because you've aligned, you've co-created with divine. Get your notebook out, your journal, and put the question in there. Should I take this job with so-and-so? Write the name of the establishment out, open up, do a prayer, maybe even light a candle if you're at home. You might be in your car trying to have privacy because you have a lot of people under your roof. So maybe a candle isn't going to work. Maybe you're going to have something that represents your relationship with God with you. Maybe you're going to, some people like holy water, some people like a little picture, whatever it is, something that just helps to ground you into your faith. I always have holy water and holy oil in my purse and a little Bible. That's me. Everybody's got their own beliefs, and we respect everybody's beliefs on the Win-Win Women Network and in Camille Conti Agency. This is the Faith and Inspiration channel for all around the world, and really, God is God. So if you get quiet and then you've got your little journal and you bring that one major topic that you're going to get really laser lucid clear on. So you're going to sit with God. You're going to say, I'm opening up and I want to get laser lucid clear on this topic of what is right for me, what is right for my family. Give it time. You might set aside at least an hour, maybe even 2 hours, depending on how big of the topic is. And then, like I said, at least 3 days in a row for something big like accepting a job, or maybe a big client that is going to take up a lot of your time, and it's going to be a really strong relationship, and you want to make sure that you're with the right client because it's going to be so much of your time. Or of course, potentially you're hiring new lawyers or new CPAs for your business or for your personal life, and you really want to make sure that you're putting the right people on your team. Take it to prayer and meditation, because you might hear interview 2 more people, or go and look at 2 more job possibilities, or it's not what it seems on the surface. So if you're willing to do that, then we usually won't miss too much. And if we still do, if we end up making a mistake, if we end up going, wow, why did I accept that position? Why did I hire that person? Why did I date that person? Then you know what? There was a lesson to be had in that, and that you weren't going to be able to move forward and get the goal you wanted until you learned that lesson. Know that everything is in divine order. Everything is in divine timing. And lessons do have to be learned to go to the next level in our life. Be okay with that. Don't beat yourself up. Don't get mad at yourself. Love yourself through it. Have courage with God, knowing that God is holding your hand. That prayer called Footprints is such a meaningful prayer in this topic of courage with God. If you've never read that poem, Footprints, the one where it basically says, I was walking along the beach praying to you, God, and I used to see 2 sets of footprints when I would pray, talk to you. And then I was going through a really, really hard time in my life, and I only saw 1 set of footprints on the beach. Why did you leave me? And most of you know that the next thing is in that poem is, those weren't your footprints, those were mine. I was carrying you. I want you to think about that for a few minutes.